Happy New Year, it's 2021. Vinyl Community Tag. Yes, I thought I'd jump on board with this one. It was Chris Prop's thread about the 5th album. And I think I've got a few in my closet that would fit the bill. I was going to select Ry Cooder's Chicken Skin Music, but a very excellent 5th album that's been covered by Chris the Blues Guy. I watched it today. Well done, Chris. And there are a couple of others, but I'm going to go for Trust, the 5th album by Elvis Costello, the 4th with the Attractions, that came out in 1991. If you're counting My Aim Is True, this year's Model Armed Forces, and then that 4th one, Get Happy, that R&B soul effort. So Trust was his 5th, and I'm going to be a little bit naughty here because I've already got a video, a full review of this video, and that will be coming up in a second. It is not in camera, it's when I was doing it in audio, but I have got quite a lot of pictures and of course the lyric sheets. And I think it's worth a shot. So that's my selection for this 5th album by the artist Elvis Costello. The original intent, so I've read, by Costello with regard to the album Trust, was to cross the melodies that were so inherent in Armed Forces with the rhythms of Get Happy. And at the time he was not exactly in fun with the world. The Tory government had been elected and his first marriage was sliding, and so it was rather cynical, the style of the record, and the lyrics really were quite the opposite of the title really, and initial titles that were rejected were Cats and Dogs and more songs about fucking and fighting, which I think I'll echo in some of the lyrics to the songs. But nevertheless, it was an album which had quite an impact on the members of the band, and they were all under the influence of some various chemicals throughout. Alcohol was a big factor, and there were also some other naughty things going on. And Costello acknowledged that it was the most drugging blues influenced record of his career, and it led to sort of, I think, some of the best work. But that's my feelings on it. So, to track 1, Clubland. And these words came readily to my mind: sleazy nightlife, organised crime, losers, dreamers, once a week escapism. But what a great single it is, pure pop melody, pulsating Thomas bass, that's Bruce Thomas of course, coupled with Naive's piano, jabbing style. It's got lush production and that exquisite Costello voice as we charge on, and Bruce Thomas's bass becomes the lead instrument, really smouldering, and then there's that jazzy piano near the exit with some overdubs. It's a monster opener, crisp live production, and lyrically, well, on second thoughts I thought, oh, the right to work is traded in for the right to refuse admission. That caught my eye and summed up this sort of track, but it's also got a lot more than that. What a great opener. Right, into track 2 then, Lover's Walk, with frantic drums and piano linked with frenetic sounds and a scream-like vocal from Elvis. It's truly manic and world-like. A song about shyness, lack of confidence, being outside, I thought, looking in on those lovers, those other people, the ones that I can't be like. It's 2 minutes 12 seconds of mania, and also it's a little bit maybe about when love breaks down. It's very, very messy, but very, very in your ears. Track 3 then, and possibly the best on the album, You'll Never Be a Man. Musically, it's a remarkable 3 minutes of classic pop with tremendous piano from Neo. Tasteful it is, rolling bass runs, punchy drums, and it's got a great melody and tuneful vocals, and yeah, no guitar. A real highlight, I thought. Lyrically, it attacks the male, the machoism, the image of the tough, hard-drinking guy who gets the best woman. Alcohol doesn't always mean sexual capability. There's a dig there, and it attacks the assumptions and tells the truth of how women see this character. Be genuine, don't hide behind falseness or pretense is the message, I think. Extract from the lyrics, which I really love. When you're half a woman and you're half awake, with a face full of tears and a chemical shake. Wow, brilliant. Pretty Words is up next. Soul pop from the Get Happy sessions, certainly. It dances through with piano and bass in unison. It's a really nice, and it also has adding touches of organ as well. It's simple, it's easy on the ear, and with those vocals soaring. Strange harmonies though, I thought, more like noises. But I guess that the three guys are not that good at singing. Lyrically, another song I think that tells of violence being used to get the girl. And this classic lyric, you're loosening all the screws that hold the hinges of my life. Well, he write some stuff, this boy, Elvis Costello. Track 5, Strip Time. It's got a nice catchy rhythm guitar introduction, neat funky rhythm. It's got a barroom piano roll with it, and with that whooping bass. Again, weak harmonies, but EC recovers, making up with his aggressive vocals. He has that 50s sort of bop style, I felt, on this track. And to catch a little bit of the lyrics, I think this song is about prostitution, but I'm not too sure. It has references, though, to females being disinterested, and very much about the clock, of course. So I think it's definitely a reflection in that area. Track 6 then, Luxembourg. It starts out at 100 mile an hour. It's an R&B stomp with some manic piano by Nievre, and Pete really pummels those drums. It's 2 minutes of knockout rhythmic rock, and the raucous finish with soaring vocals from Elvis. It echoes of Presley's rock and roll, maybe retro even. Lyrically, well, lots of messages in here, I think, maybe about a tourist on the lookout for a nice girl and wandering into an environment where it's more cool girl-like. Affection can be very costly and not exactly honest, but it's certainly a song about sex and the perils of whether it becomes fulfilling or not. Closing track then on side 1 is Watch Your Step. I love this song. It's got a lovely melody. The keyboards are nourishing, music hall-like, and Elvis paints a picture with his soft, subtle vocals, unearthing the story. And then there's the bridge, which enables Steve to get nifty with his piano solo, very dreamy, and mix exquisitely with the organ. It's a real cute song. Lyrically, I think it's another song about letting your hair down in foreign lands, with a warning about the perils of drunkenness. Vacation time can end up with a spot of bother. And here's an extract.
From Singapore to Witness, you better watch your step. Broken noses hung up on the wall. Backslapping drinkers cheer the heavyweight brawl. So punch drunk they don't understand it all. You better watch your step. Every night go out full of carnival desires. End up in the closing time choirs. When you're kicking in the courtroom and you're drinking down the eau de cologne and you're spitting out the Kodacram, you better watch your step. Yeah.
So to the first track on the second side, New Lace Sleeves. There's a cool bass and drums that set up Elvis's seductive vocals, and then Nave adds that classy touch of organ. It's the best thing on this album by far, and probably the smartest, smoothest the band has ever sounded. Bruce Thomas's bass lines are so head nodding, and Elvis's vocals have never sounded as good. It's a perfect pop song. Lyrically, it's about a one night stand and the morning that follows, I think. The reality replacing the fantasy. Great reference to presidents having newspapers lovers. I love that line. It tells the story from the female perspective. May well again refer to call girls or an occasional envy from your ordinary girl. Also a nod to the armed forces and getting their R&R the same way. It's a gem. Track 8, and we link into that stomping new wave rock of From a Whisper to a Scream, with some solid vocals from the Squeeze Gang, well, Glenn Tilbrook actually, and the attractions get to be to get their rubber burnt up. It's power. It's a great fast pop song, really rocks. More solid bass, drums, synchronicity, and chaos reigns at the end with Neve. And there's also a guest guitar from Martin Belmont from the Rumour. Lyrically, I think it's about joining a group, being influenced, binge drinking maybe with your peers to gain acceptance in the club or the pub. And a small problem because of that leads to a huge one. Here's a brief extract. Oh, if the customers like it, then they'll keep on paying. If they keep on drinking, then they'll end up staying. I heard someone say, where have we met before? But the 1 over the 8 seems less like 1 or more like 4. Like a finger running down a seam, from a whisker to a scream. Next up is Different Finger. This is probably a cut that could have gone on Almost Blue. It's very country and western, straight out of Nashville, I thought. No surprises on this, although it's done very tastefully. The lyrics, well, cheating on your partner, I thought, to get that one night stand again. Different finger, yeah, you can see that. Here's an extract. Please put your rings on a different finger if you meet me tonight, because I can't stand those suspicious glances, because I know the things they're saying are right. They're saying, why don't you straighten up and see what you've got to lose? But it's all down to fate. White Knuckles, well, it's a punk stomp with attitude in abundance. Neve sounds a little like a fairground keyboard expert. And EC oohs a lot. Echoes of this year's Model. Lyrically, it's another song about abusive males who are maybe racist as well. A message about male behaviour. Here's a little extract. White knuckles, black and blue skin. You don't have to take it, so you just give in. White knuckles sweating on the headboard. He never found out what the kiss was for. Losing face with the boys while she's whispering in his ear. They never found out why they called it laughing gear. Maybe they weren't loved when they were young. Maybe they should be hung by their tongues. Yeah, you could see a lot of that around. The next track, Shot with His Own Gun, is a personal favourite. The piano treads heavily
before Elvis's solo vocals eke out the tale. It's poetic as the two mesh together. You can see why they've worked successfully together for 40 years, Neve and Costello. Some of the piano runs are classical in their presentation. It's very dark. Its strength is obvious. It's a tragic tale, I think, and maybe a post-traumatic stress disorder, and no counselling, and a predictable suicide. I might be wrong. Let's have an extract anyway. What's on your mind now is anyone's guess, losing his touch with each caress, spending every evening looking so appealing. He comes without warning, leaves without feeling. Shot with his own gun, now daddy's keeping mum. Shot with his own gun, on your marks man, ready, set. Let's get loaded and forget. The little corporal got in the way, and he got hit by the emotional ricochet. It's a bit more now than dressing up Dolly. Playing house seems so melancholy. Shot with his own gun. I think it's brilliantly written. Next up is Fish and Chip Paper. It swings like an oozing relic of the 50s jazz band era. And there's a neat, rare guitar solo from Elvis on here. These vocals, once again, with that R&B feel. It's a real swinger with Neve's boppy piano, scintillating. Lyrically, I think it's a song about company being, comparing being single or married, and choices about outcomes. Here's a little extract. When Sunday morning dandruff turns out to be confetti, and the cost of living in sin would make a poor man out of Paul Getty. The girl of your dreams would have you up on an underage charge, and the man of the moment is a lifer at large. If you've got something to hide, if you've got something to sell, if you've got somebody's bride, she might kiss and tell. I love these words. It's one of the highlights of being a fan of Elvis Costello. They're often very difficult to understand, but they're so inspiring. The last track then on the original pressing, Big Sister's Clothes, it's an acoustic-driven ballad of sorts with those nice chunky reggae beats and domineering bass licks again from Bruce. Lyrically, I think it's a tale about child labour, working maybe as a sex worker. There's references to your big sister's clothes, learning from a senior in the family. Online, however, it was suggested it was about the Falklands War and the nuclear arms race. Well, you can take your pick. So to summarise this 1981 release, Trust, it became a personal favourite of mine, I have to confess. A lot of it connected with possibly 4 tracks, Clubland, You'll Never Be Like a Man, and of course You'll Never Be a Man, and Watch Your Step, New Year Lace Sleeves. But that would be nitpicking really, because there's class in all the songs, all 14 of them, and they're never too lengthy to get bored with them. And I just feel that it was an amalgam of the R&B Get Happy with more sedentary work on the previous cut, Armed Forces, with that politics still running through the content lyrically. I think it made a bold statement really about how Elvis viewed males, machoism, and to an extent right-wing sort of ideologies. And of course he, as a male, of course was always a victim because of the way he looked. He was picked on, and so this is him bouncing back and having a real go at this macho, egotistical male that riddles society.
and poisons it. I chose it as my best album for 1981, and listening to it again reinforces my view that it was the best album from 1981. But the thing is about Costello albums, particularly from his beginnings through the 80s, all of the albums had sort of tracks that stood out. And so it was very difficult to select one above the other because the quality was so high. Anyway, get to listen to it. It's called Trust. It's by Elvis Costello and the Attractions, and it was released in 1981.